Lebanon has become, for all intents and purposes, a failed state.
Lebanon is a small and beautiful country along the Mediterranean coast. It's home to around 5.5 million people. However, Lebanon is facing significant economic difficulties, making it one of the most desperate economies in the world today. The country has been unable to repay its large foreign debts, causing hyperinflation that has made its currency almost worthless. This economic crisis has led to a serious problem of not having enough food, which affects people's well-being. Many individuals who can leave Lebanon have decided to do so, hoping to find a better future elsewhere. The decline in Lebanon's population is a major concern that greatly impacts the country's economy. To give you an idea, in countries like China, a projected annual decrease of 0.4% in their population over the next few decades is already causing significant changes in their economy. In contrast, Lebanon has experienced a shocking 20% decline in population over the past 5 years. This mass departure reflects the disappointment and lack of hope felt by many people who no longer see a promising future in their own country. Population decline is just one of the many challenges Lebanon is facing. The country also struggles with economic problems, as well as political and social issues that make the situation complex and difficult for its citizens. This is a critical time for Lebanon, and it's crucial to make efforts to address these challenges and work towards restoring stability and a brighter future for its people. In the past 2 years, Lebanon's economy has suffered a major decline. The country's GDP, which is a measure of its economic output, dropped by more than 50%. In 2019, Lebanon's GDP was $52 billion, but by 2021, it had fallen to $23 billion. This decline is one of the worst in history, only surpassed by Macau, a special economic zone facing challenges from covert policies and political pressures. Despite being invaded by a nuclear superpower, Ukraine experienced a smaller decline in its economy during the same period. Economists worldwide are trying to understand why Lebanon's economy has deteriorated so rapidly. Adding to the country's problems, a devastating explosion occurred in Beirut, the capital city, about a year and a half ago. This explosion caused significant damage, taking the lives of 218 people, injuring over 7,000, and leaving 300,000 people without homes. Rebuilding the affected area, which suffered around $15 billion in property damage, about half of Lebanon's yearly output at the time, has been a huge challenge. While it may seem like the explosion is solely responsible for Lebanon's economic problems, the truth is that the country was already struggling even before the incident. Even if the explosion hadn't happened, Lebanon would likely still be facing similar difficulties today. Before 2017, Lebanon was making good progress. The country was growing quickly, establishing new industries, and improving the living standards of its people. Understanding the reasons behind this previous economic growth is crucial, not just for rebuilding Lebanon, but also for other developing economies facing similar challenges around the world. Economists need to investigate what went wrong and learn valuable lessons to help guide Lebanon and other nations in similar situations toward recovery. But why did Lebanon's economy suddenly collapse? And how did certain economic systems fail so badly that the country lost more than half of its total output? Growing a country's economy is difficult, even for privileged nations with peace, prosperity, educated workers, and investments in tools and infrastructure. They also struggle to achieve significant annual growth rates. Lebanon faced an even tougher challenge after a 15-year civil war that ended in 1990. Despite this, the country made progress. The government first focused on collecting taxes, which is hard during a war when people on opposing sides are hesitant to pay. Lebanon's economy was also boosted by basic exports and money sent home by Lebanese nationals, working abroad to support their families. Additionally, foreign aid helped the country restart its operations and successfully rebuild. From 1990 to 2000, Lebanon's economy more than quadrupled its real output, although it started from a relatively low point. This was an impressive achievement within a short time. By the mid-2000s, Lebanon's geopolitical challenges had diminished, attracting tourists and international investors. Lebanese banks were considered stable and trustworthy places for people to keep their money, not only within Lebanon but also in other Middle Eastern countries. When experts evaluate an economy's overall well-being, they often look at the debt-to-GDP ratio. This ratio compares the government debt to the country's total output. Although debt-to-GDP ratios can include household and business debt, economists usually focus on government debt. For example, if a country has a GDP of $1 trillion and a government debt of $1 trillion, the debt-to-GDP ratio would be 100, which is straightforward to understand. When a country's debt reaches or exceeds 100% of its total output, it is generally considered high. In the mid-2000s, Lebanon had a debt-to-GDP ratio of 183%, which was one of the highest in the world at that time. Usually, having a high government debt is seen as a bad thing. However, in Lebanon's case, the government borrowed money from investors who believed in the country's potential for growth. Lebanon's high debt-to-GDP ratio was not due to mismanagement or sudden economic decline. It was a result of foreign investors lending money to support the country's ambitious growth plans. Similar to a new business securing a loan for essential equipment, Lebanon needed to borrow to invest in infrastructure and develop its banking industry. This borrowing was necessary because Lebanon's currency, the Lebanese pound, is not widely used internationally. By making wise investments and enhancing its value-producing capacity, Lebanon aimed to repay the loans and achieve rapid economic expansion. The ultimate goal is to become an advanced economy like Japan, South Korea, or Taiwan, which also relied on significant debt to develop successful industries. As these countries grew more stable, they could borrow at lower interest rates. Lebanon's economy faced major challenges, both from within the country and globally. Surprisingly, it managed to withstand the 2008 global financial crisis quite well, thanks to conservative banking practices. However, underlying internal problems started to surface in the mid-2000s, and the economy had to face the consequences during the 2019 crisis. By the late 2010s, Lebanon's economy seemed like a success story, although it was still not as prosperous as wealthier nations worldwide. However, compared to other countries in the region, excluding oil-rich states and Israel, Lebanon was performing relatively well. Since the end of the Lebanese Civil War, the country had experienced continuous economic growth, even while the rest of the world struggled with major economic crises. During this time, issues like government corruption, inflexible social policies, and tensions with more powerful neighboring countries went unnoticed because people were focused on the improving quality of life. However, Lebanon remained vulnerable due to its rapid growth and increasing debt. The ongoing civil war in Syria, involving Lebanon and Iran, through complex geopolitical channels, escalated into a humanitarian crisis when over 1.5 million refugees flooded into Lebanon within a year. This massive population shift in such a small country had a noticeable impact. Lebanon's fixed exchange rate of $1 to 1,507.5 pounds enabled people to benefit from the stable banking system and privacy laws. However, tighter regulations due to sanctions led foreign account holders to convert Lebanese pounds to US dollars. Insufficient reserves caused the currency's value to collapse. Others feared savings seizure and withdrew funds or invested in tangible assets. Apartment complexes on Beirut's waterfront became a popular non-banking investment. Liquidity issues raised the risk of loan defaults, hindering loan acquisition. To generate revenue, the government introduced taxes, sparking protests that grew into riots. These protests exposed corruption, economic mismanagement, and strict sectarian social policies, undermining previous progress. Lebanon's economy was already in serious trouble before the devastating explosion that garnered global attention. Despite progress made in the past 2 decades, the majority of the population did not benefit, and the banking industry focused on privacy laws benefiting the wealthy, which had negative consequences for everyone. Assessing Lebanon's position on the Economics Explained National Leaderboard, its GDP of $23.1 billion places it among smaller economies like Albania and Malta. Previously scoring 5 out of 10, Lebanon now receives a 3 out of 10 due to its economic collapse. With a GDP per capita of $4,136, less than half of the global average, it gets a 2 out of 10. Stability and confidence have always been low, even during the period of relative prosperity, earning Lebanon a mere 1 out of 10. Growth was robust until recently, but risky policies caused a 40% shrinkage in GDP, resulting in a 0 out of 10. The industry is struggling with imports and significant setbacks, leading to a 2 out of 10 score. Overall, Lebanon's average score is 1.6 out of 10, placing it at the bottom of the Economics Explained National Leaderboard. With that said, thank you for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. And if you found this content helpful, give the video a like. See you in the next video. Till then, take care.